can also connect that to your previous point of like page 1 that he just doesn't want to waste any time. So he just molds the whole idea of like a newspaper clipping.
I just realized this, but like we're looking at 128 already from Abigail thing, and if you look, there's in that page spread, there's 3 of them where the golden words is radiation machine. And I just think, and there's another place where we did it with jet trains. There was like 3 quotes about jet trains, and they were all on like the same 2 pages. And I just think that, like you said, it's like, oh, this is a common theme, and you can easily follow like, oh, this is how the radiation machines are the same. Other than we were talking about the floods, and it's like Lake Nasser is going down. It's like it's easy to see the connections between them and see how things really are changing.
I kind of have like another observation about the newspaper clippings. I don't know if it's like observation that I want to make or a question, like how do you guys feel about this? But because there's no citations and because like you know, like this whole correlation between Zod's job at the archives and how the newspaper people from Egypt aren't exactly qualified and don't actually know, like they're not really writing super like accurate things in the newspaper. Can we even as readers like trust these newspaper clippings? Like how do you guys feel about that? That's my question.
I think one of Ibrahim's purposes is actually to make the reader aware that we can't trust them. Like he, in a lot of some newspaper clipping sections, he puts 2 clippings together that are like directly contradict each other. Like a lot of them talking about, oh, this is like a big problem, and then like the minister of blank saying, oh, there's nothing to worry about. So I think I mean, it's very clear that he's putting those together like in that order specifically to show us that these things can't be trusted, and like what goes out in these sources in the newspapers, it's not always credible. And I mean, he talked again going back to how the archives, like the people in the archives who work there aren't actually educated enough, and they just put out what the government wants, and the government is like censoring information. There's all these contradictions. I think that's precisely his purpose, is kind of to convey that and make the reader aware like we don't really know what's true or not, and that kind of mirrors the instability and confusion that is felt by the Egyptian people, because they don't really know what to trust, and they don't know if they can, I guess, trust the information that's supposed to be true, but then it's very obvious that there's contradictions, and so we don't really know what to make of it.
Just a friendly reminder, there's like 10 more minutes left, so there's a couple people who haven't talked. So make sure that the people who have been talking 5+ times slow it down a little bit.
Slightly less than 2 minutes, just FYI.
So I was wondering how you guys think the book as a whole, or specific parts of the book, can relate to how we live our everyday lives, whether you're male or female, and how Zot can relate to you. So like on a more human level than parking lot level.
I think the overall idea is like motifs like apathy and miscommunication and maybe feeling not like things are corrupt, but maybe like things are unfair sometimes. I think it's those greater ideas or those broad ideas that relate to our lifestyle more.
I think that when Sadie earlier brought up the idea that, and I think Albert was touching on it too, how Ibrahim often goes on long-winded tangents that we're not sure what the point is. I think that is really exemplary of like how he's trying to relate to the reader on a human level, because a lot of times his descriptions the intense detail kind of emulates like how we observe like new situations, and I think that that is kind of evident throughout his writing. I'm trying to remember what page it's on. I think it's on 142 to 143. No, that's not right. That is not right at all. I don't know. I did my third call now, so actually have it. 152 to 153. It's when Zot goes to Zifra to visit with her neighbor Samia to the funeral of her niece, and it's Ibrahim is depicting like the extreme poverty in society, and it's the first time that we really see like this in detail the extreme poverty, and it's also the first time Zot kind of is exposed to this. And I think that the way that he describes throughout this passage, like in such intense detail, really portrays just how people or humans as a whole like have this kind of stream of consciousness going through their mind. And I think although it can seem long-winded, I think it's to really, again, make Zot seem more human and almost make her more normal and just taking everything in. Like at the beginning, at the top, it says the look of disgust on Zot's face. So she's disgusted with this extreme poverty, which seems like a very normal and human-like, it's a very honest reaction. Like I feel like a lot of people wouldn't want to admit that they're disgusted by poverty, but I think things like that, those long-winded explanations, is just him trying to relate Zot on a more human level.
I think it's interesting that Zot was so disgusted with this town when in Cairo it's already so dirty and the infrastructure is already so faulty. And to bring back to Emma's question on how it relates, how this book relates to our lives, what I feel towards this book is kind of what Zot feels towards this dirty town. So, with like how appreciative I am to live in a, like, I'm pretty sure that we can agree that our cities are a bit cleaner. Like Redwood City doesn't really have like piles of sewage everywhere, and we can't smell things all the time. So what I think is that, what my relationship to the book is that I kind of pity the people, and like when we compare the societies, we can tell that there's quite a difference.
So another comparison that I found was communication. So how we can't trust these newspaper clippings is the same way we can't trust the media and the news, especially Fox. And just how they just present a lot of events that are happening. Like they're focusing a lot on Donald Trump when there's also all these other presidents that we should be knowing more about, and just things like that.
I have another specific example of our media not being the best. So, I don't know if you guys remember, but a few years ago, I think it was a plane from China that came and crashed into SFO, and then I think it was CNN, maybe Fox, they had the names of the pilots, and like, they were ridiculous. Literally, any second grader and above who read it, like, would understand, this is a joke, that, this is a joke, but, CNN broadcasted it, like, all the Bay Area and more, so.
It was actually, it was KTVU, and it wasn't completely their fault because it was released by someone at the NTSB, so. Yeah.
It was We Too Low, Bang Dang Out, and
Holy
something.
Holy
Poo.
Nonetheless, I think it's kind of obvious when you read it that just a specific example.
Okay, so since we're nearing the end of the discussion, I think it'd be a good time to summarize. I thought this discussion was like really cohesive. I don't know about you guys, but we've definitely like built on our ideas and stuck with all of our topics for a really long time. I think when we talked about Zot and if she is a symbol or not, and then her likability, I thought that was really interesting. And then we touched on apathy, and then Lee Hall's question about time, and then also Ibrahim's credibility and his purpose. So does anybody have anything?
We talked a lot about the newspaper clippings.
Great job, guys.
All right, that is a good place to end. We're at like 74 minutes right now, which is 75, but if nobody has any